Welcome, dear listener, to a story about the most familiar stranger in our lives. It is a story about a river you cannot see, but in which you are always swimming. A story about a silent metronome that ticks within your own chest, and in the turning of the world, and in the slow dance of galaxies. Tonight, we will explore the gentle, patient history of a question. How do we measure eternity? This is a story about time, but this is not a story to hurry you. In fact, it is quite the opposite. This is an invitation to step out of the current, to sit on the soft, mossy bank of the ages, and to watch, with slow blinking eyes, as the human race has tried to catch the shadow of a moment, to bottle a season, to chart the path of a star. So, as you settle into your bed, let us begin by letting go of time. Let go of the schedules, the deadlines, the glancing at the clock. Feel the weight of your body here in this one unmoving point. This present moment is your only home. The past is a story. The future is a dream. And right here, right now, there is only the sound of a calm voice and the gentle rhythm of your own breath. Take a deep, slow breath in and feel time expand within you. Pause, and a long, soft breath out, feeling all urgency dissolve. Pause. Let your eyelids grow heavy, as if each second adds a tiny grain of sand to their weight. Let your hands rest, palms open, releasing the need to hold on to anything. You are safe. Okay? You are still, and we have all the time in the world to lose track of it completely. So let us begin, not with a clock, but with a long, deep, and silent darkness. Imagine, if you will, a world without a single clock. No numbers on a wall, no alarms, no 5 more minutes. Imagine yourself, thousands and thousands of years ago, lying on your back on a cool, clear night. The only canopy is the vault of heaven, pricked with countless points of silver light. There is no electric glow on the horizon. The darkness is absolute, and the stars are terrifyingly, beautifully bright. This was humanity's first clock. It's the oldest and most patient timepiece of all. The sky. Our earliest ancestors were not separate from this sky. They lived under it, governed by its rhythms. They noticed patterns in the chaos. They saw that certain stars, we call them constellations, wheeled across the heavens with the seasons. They saw the moon, that great, pale eye in the night, undergo its silent, inexorable transformation from a slender silver crescent to a swollen, glowing lantern, and back again to darkness. This cycle, lasting roughly 29.5 days, became one of our first units of time, the month. The very word month comes from moon, and then the sun, the great, blazing engine of time. Its daily journey from horizon to horizon marked the fundamental pulse of life, day and night. But its path was not constant. Over the course of many days and nights, our ancestors, the true, patient scientists of prehistory, noted that the sun's rising and setting points crept along the horizon. In summer, it rose high, arching across the sky, granting long, warm hours of light. In winter, it was a low, shy traveler skirting the horizon, leaving long, cold darkness in its wake. The year had been discovered. The most profound moment in this celestial observation was the solstice, from the Latin solstitium, sun standing still. Around December 21st in the north, the sun would reach its southernmost point on the horizon and seem to pause, to stand still for a few days, before slowly, tentatively, beginning its journey back north. This was the winter solstice, the longest night, the rebirth of the sun, a moment of profound anxiety and hope woven into the fabric of time itself. Its opposite, the summer solstice around June 21st, was the longest day, the sun at the peak of its power, and halfway between these two pillars of the year, the equinoxes, equus, equal, and nox, night, the moments in spring and autumn when day and night were of equal length, the great balance point of the cosmos. How do we know ancient people cared so deeply about these moments? Because they built monuments to them, not with words, but with stone. Let us drift in our mind's eye to a green roll of land in what is now Wiltshire, England. The wind whispers over the grass, and there, standing for over 4,000 years, is Stonehenge. We often think of it as an isolated, mysterious circle, but see it as its builders did, a massive astronomical computer made of sarsen and bluestone. At the summer solstice sunrise, if you stand at the center of the circle, you look through a specific archway of stones, and the rising sun climbs perfectly, triumphantly, over a distant, outlying stone called the heel stone. The entire architecture is aligned to capture that single, glorious moment of time. It was a way to pin the wandering sun to the earth, to say, here, this is the day. We have marked it. Across the sea, in what is now Ireland, there is the great Neolithic tomb of Newgrange, older than the pyramids of Egypt. For 364 days of the year, its inner chamber is a place of profound, silent darkness. But for a few precious minutes around the winter solstice sunrise, a slender beam of sunlight pierces a specially constructed roof box above the entrance. It travels down a long stone passageway and illuminates the central chamber in a dazzling golden beam. For a people who stored the bones of their ancestors in that chamber, this was not just a celestial event. It was time itself reaching into the tomb, touching the dead with the promise of rebirth, of cyclical return. The light was a message from eternity. Long ago, people measured time in a simple way. They watched the world around them. They paid attention to the changes in light, the weather, and the seasons. These patterns told them when to plant, when to gather food, and when a new year had begun. They also looked to the sky. When certain stars appeared again after being gone, it told them that an important change was coming. This helped them prepare for the months ahead. To stay organized, they divided the year into 3 main parts. One part was for when the land was wet. One part was for when plants grew. One part was for when food was collected. They made each part the same size, so the year felt balanced. They added a few extra days at the end to keep everything in order. Their calendar was close to the real length of the year, but not perfect. Over time, the seasons drifted. But the idea stayed the same. Time could be counted in a clear way. It could be written down. It could help people plan their lives. People in that time did not watch clocks. They did not think in minutes or hours. They followed slow, natural changes. Daylight came and went. The moon grew and shrank. The seasons moved at a gentle pace. Their sense of time was calm and steady. As you listen now, try to feel that slower way of living. Let's take an easy breath in. Let it out. There is no need to hurry. There's only this moment, this simple rhythm. They invented the clepsydra, the water clock. Imagine a simple stone vessel with a small, carefully drilled hole in the bottom. It is filled with water. The water drips out at a constant rate. Marks on the inside of the vessel show how much time has passed as the water level falls. It is time made liquid, flowing, measurable. The Greeks refined this, creating elaborate water clocks with gears and dials that could ring bells. First alarm clocks. The water clock brought time indoors into palaces and courtyards. It made time a substance that could be contained, even as it perpetually escaped. But the sun remained the master timekeeper. The sundial evolved from simple shadow sticks to beautifully crafted instruments. The Romans developed a hemicycla holodat, hemispherical stone bowl, with a central gnomon, the pointer. The path of the shadow across carefully etched lines in the bowl would tell the hour. Yet, sundials had their poetry and their problems. They were silent. They were peaceful. They only worked, of course, when the sun shone. And crucially, they told local solar time. When the sun was directly overhead, it was noon. But noon in Rome was different from noon in Milan. Every town lived by its own little slice of the sun's journey. This was a world of many tiny local times. And how did they divide the day? The Egyptians are credited with dividing the day into 24 hours, likely based on their use of star clocks at night, which marked 12 decans, or star groups, that rose consecutively. The number 12 and its double 24 have a mystical, mathematical appeal. They are divisible in many ways. But these hours were not equal as we know them. They divided the daylight into 12 hours and the night into 12 hours. So, a summer hour of daylight was much longer than a summer hour of night, and vice versa in winter. These were temporal hours, flexible, breathing with the seasons. Time itself stretched and contracted with a sigh of the year. In ancient China, during the Shang dynasty, timekeeping was also an imperial art. They used water clocks, but also invented the incense clock. Lines of finely calibrated powdered incense wood, belayed in intricate patterns on a flat surface. Different scents could mark different hours, as the glowing tip of the incense traveled along its path. It was not just time that was measured, but the very air was perfumed with its passage. Time had a fragrant sandalwood, jasmine, pine. Imagine falling asleep to that, not the tick of a clock, but the sweet, slow scent of a burning hour. Meanwhile, in the monasteries of medieval Europe, a new kind of time was being forged, the time of the soul. The monastic day was structured around the divine office, a cycle of 8 prayers spread across the 24 hours. The most famous were matins in the dead of night, lauds at dawn, and vespers at evening. To regulate this sacred schedule, monks relied on the stars, water clocks, and candles of a standard size and wax composition that would burn for a known number of hours. The call to prayer was not by mechanical bell, but by human voice or the striking of a sementruna, wooden or metal beam. The rhythm of monastic life was the rhythm of prayer, a heartbeat of devotion that partitioned the day into spiritual rather than economic segments. It was in these quiet, stone-walled cloisters that the future of mechanical time was patiently incubated, born from the need to call the community to prayer at the correct hour, even on cloud-covered nights. But the sun, the water, the incense, the candle, these were still tied to the natural world. They flowed, they burned, they dripped. Time was still a process, a decay, a consumption. Then, in the 14th century, in the tall church towers of Europe, a new sound entered the world, the mechanical tick. The first weight-driven mechanical clocks were monumental, inaccurate, and wondrous. They had no faces, no minute hands. Their purpose was not to show the time, but to sound it. They were great iron beasts of gears and levers, built to ring a bell on the hour. The word clock comes from the medieval Latin clocca, meaning bell. The most famous of these early giants is the clock in Salisbury Cathedral, dating from around 1386. It is a simple, powerful machine. Its purpose was to call the canonical hours for the diocese. It marked time for an entire community, its voice of iron and bronze echoing across the thatched roofs of the town. This was public time, authoritarian time, a shared rhythm imposed from the great stone tower. These early clocks were regulated by a device called a verge escapement scriping lever that allowed the power of a falling weight to be released in tiny, discrete increments. Tick, tock, tock, qui. It was a sound that mimicked the beating of a heart, the marching of feet. For the first time, time was not flowing, but stepping. It was segmented into a series of identical, mechanical moments. The clock face, when it appeared, was a circle of unity, often painted with heavenly motifs. The sun, the moon, stars represented the cosmos. Usually, It had only one hand, the hour hand. The minute was too fine a concept for daily life. The day was divided into 12, sometimes 24, equal hours on the dial. These were now equal hours, unchanging with the seasons. The natural, breathing temporal hours were gone, replaced by the rigid, mathematical grid of mechanical time. This was a revolution in human consciousness. Time was beginning to separate from the natural world. It was becoming a thing in itself, an abstract, measurable commodity produced by a machine. Let your mind drift around one of these early clock faces. See the single iron hand moving almost imperceptibly. Hear the heavy, solemn clunk of the gears, the preparing tension before the bell rings out. It is slow. It is monumental. It marks not moments for rushing, but moments for prayer, for gathering, for reflection. A T. There is a gravity to it, and in that gravity, in that slow, solemn tick, perhaps you can find a pace for your own thoughts. Let your mind's rhythm slow to match that ancient, heavy beat. Not the frantic flutter of a modern second hand, but the grand, deliberate tock, tock, tock of a medieval tower. With each imagined sound, feel yourself settling deeper into the mattress, becoming heavier, more still. You are in no hurry. You are listening to time itself being born in slow motion. For centuries after its birth in the bell tower, time remained a local affair. The town clock was the final authority. When does the market open? It's 8 by the cathedral bell. Travel was slow. A journey that took days or weeks did not require precise synchronization between starting point and destination. If your town's clock was 10 minutes ahead of the next village's, it scarcely mattered. But then the world began to move, and it moved first across the sea. The most dreadful problem in navigation was finding longitude east-west position on the open ocean. Latitude, north-south, could be found from the sun and stars. But longitude required knowing the time back at your home port and comparing it to the local solar time where your ship was. If you knew that it was noon at your ship's sun highest in the sky, but your clock, set to London time, said 2 p.m., then you knew you were 2 hours west of London. Since the Earth rotates 15 degrees per hour, you were 30 degrees west. The theory was simple. The problem was, no clock could survive a long sea voyage. The rocking of the ship, the huge changes in temperature and humidity, would wreck the delicate mechanisms of a land-based clock. It would run fast, or slow, or stop entirely. Without an accurate timekeeper, ships were literally lost at sea, missing their destinations, crashing into coasts, costing fortunes and thousands of lives. So desperate was the need that in 1714, British Parliament offered the Longitude Prize, £20,000, a colossal fortune to anyone who could solve the problem. The scientific establishment, including the great Sir Isaac Newton, believed the answer lay in the stars, in complex lunar tables. They were astronomers. They looked to the sky. The winner, however, was a humble, stubborn, and brilliant carpenter and self-taught clockmaker from Yorkshire, John Harrison. He looked not to the heavens, but to the heart of a machine. Harrison's life's work was a series of 5 marine timekeepers, now known as H1 through H5. They were not clocks as anyone knew them. They were sculptures of brass and wood, immune to the sea's chaos. He solved problems with breathtaking ingenuity. To compensate for temperature changes, he created the gridiron pendulum and later bimetallic strips, which would expand and contract to regulate the clock. To deal with the ship's motion, he used counter-oscillating balances that canceled out the roll and pitch. His mechanisms were frictionless where possible, using rolling bearings and special oils. H4, completed in 1759, looked like a large, ornate pocket watch. On a grueling test voyage to Jamaica and back, it lost only 5 seconds. 5 seconds over 147 days at sea. It was a miracle of precision. Harrison, after a lifetime of struggle and bureaucratic obstruction, eventually won the prize. He had done what the astronomers said was impossible. He had tamed time, bottled it in a brass case, and sent it around the world. The marine chronometer did more than save ships. It shrank the world. It meant time could be transported. It meant that London time or Paris time could be carried across oceans and imposed on new continents. It was the beginning of a global network of synchronized time. The local solar god's time was being challenged by portable mechanical man's time. Back on land, the next great driver of time's precision was the railway. In the early 1800s, with the invention of the steam locomotive, the world began to speed up in a way it never had before. And suddenly, local times became a dangerous nightmare. If every town on a railway line operated on its own solar time, the schedule was impossible. A train leaving London at 12 o'clock London time would arrive in Reading at 12:07 Reading time. But was it early or late? Accidents were threatened. Chaos loomed. The railways forced the standardization of time. In Britain, they adopted London time or railway time across the network. Clocks in station masters' offices were synchronized by telegraph signal from the Royal Observatory at Greenwich. For a while, towns had two clocks, one showing local time and one showing railway time. But the needs of commerce and transportation were relentless. The faster the world moved, the more it needed a single, shared time. This culminated in the International Meridian Conference of 1884, held in Washington. D.C. delegates from 25 nations voted to establish a single prime meridian 0 degrees longitude passing through the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, England. This gave the world Greenwich Mean Time GMT, a universal reference. The globe was divided into 24 time zones, each roughly 15 degrees of longitude wide, each 1 hour apart. It was a political and technological compromise, carving the spherical, natural world into neat, mathematical slices of time. At the stroke of a pen, the sun was dethroned. No longer was noon defined by the sun being directly overhead. Now, noon was defined by a treaty and a clock in Greenwich. If you lived on the western edge of a time zone, the sun might not reach its zenith until 12:30 by the clock. Time had officially become a human convention, divorced from direct solar observation. The mental shift was profound. People began to wear time on their wrists. The pocket watch, once a luxury, became a necessity for the railway traveler and the factory worker. Life was now governed by the timetable, the shift whistle, the punch clock. Time was no longer a cycle to be experienced, but a quantity to be spent, saved, or wasted. It had become currency. As you lie here now, think of your own internal clock. It has been shaped by this history. The alarm that woke you this morning is a descendant of the monastery bell. The schedule you keep is a child of the railway timetable. We live in a world Harrison and the railway barons built. But for this moment, you can step off that fast-moving train. You can let go of the schedule. There is no longitude to calculate here, no station to catch. You are adrift on the calmest of seas in the softest of nights. Feel the gentle rock of it, as if on a still ocean. No chronometer is needed here. There is only the slow tide of your breath, rising and falling, in and out. As regular as any clock, but far more kind. Let the precision of the world soften into the gentle imprecision of dream. Your only time zone is the one of rest. Your only meridian is the line between wakefulness and sleep. The 20th century took the quest for perfect time from the mechanical realm into the subatomic, and in doing so, it shattered our classical understanding of time itself. For all their brilliance, even the finest mechanical clocks, the master chronometers in observatories, were subject to tiny errors. Metal springs, fatigue, gears, wear. Gravity affects them. They are approximations. The search for a perfect, unchanging rhythm led physicists inward to the hidden heart of matter. They discovered that atoms have a natural resonance, a frequency at which they vibrate, much like a tuning fork. And this frequency is staggeringly constant, unaffected by temperature, pressure, or the wear of ages. It is a pulse built into the fabric of reality. The first practical atomic clock was built in 1955 at the National Physical Laboratory in England, using the resonance of the cesium-133 atom. Here is how it works in its gentle, abstract beauty. Cesium atoms are heated into a vapor. They are sorted, so only atoms of a certain energy state are allowed to pass into a chamber. There, they are exposed to microwave radiation. The frequency of this radiation is tuned until it exactly matches the natural resonance frequency of the cesium atom. 9,192,631,770 vibrations per second. When it matches, the cesium atoms change their energy state. This change is detected. The clock's electronics are locked onto this frequency. The tick of an atomic clock is not a sound, but 9 billion oscillations of a microwave field, counting the dance of an invisible atom. It is almost impossible to comprehend such stability. The best cesium fountain atomic clocks today will not lose or gain a second in 300 million years. Time is now measured by counting the breaths of an atom. This redefined the very second. No longer 1/86,400th of a mean solar day, which is variable due to the Earth's slowing rotation. Second is now officially the duration of 9,192,631,770 periods of the radiation, corresponding to the transition between the two hyperfine levels of the ground state of the cesium-133 atom. Time has escaped our planet. It is now a universal quantum constant. This precision is the silent, invisible foundation of our modern world. It enables the Global Positioning System, GPS. Every GPS satellite carries multiple atomic clocks. The system works by timing how long a radio signal takes to travel from the satellite to your receiver. Because the signals travel at the speed of light, a timing error of just 1/millionth of a second would translate to a distance error of 300 meters. The atomic clocks must be perfectly synchronized, and their signals are even corrected by Einstein's theories of relativity, for time runs slightly faster in the weaker gravity of orbit than on Earth. Your map app is a direct conversation with atomic clocks in space, mediated by relativity. The internet, global finance, where trades are time-stamped to the microsecond. Power grids, communication networks all rely on this synchronized atomic pulse. We live enmeshed in an invisible web of perfect time. Yet, even as we mastered this unimaginable precision, the greatest minds of physics were revealing that time itself is not what we thought. At the dawn of the 20th century, a young patent clerk named Albert Einstein had a series of quiet thought experiments. He imagined riding on a beam of light. He considered the nature of simultaneity. From this, he gave us the theories of special and general relativity. And in this new universe, time is not absolute. It is relative. The speed of light is the constant. Time and space are the variables. If you could travel at a significant fraction of the speed of light, time for you would slow down relative to someone at rest. This is time dilation, not a defect in clocks, but a feature of reality. A clock on a fast-moving spaceship actually ticks slower. An astronaut returning from a near light-speed journey would have aged less than the people on Earth. Time is woven together with space into a single fabric's space-time band. It can be stretched and warped by gravity. A clock closer to a massive object, like Earth, runs slower than a clock farther away. This has been measured. The GPS system must correct for this. Then came quantum mechanics, the physics of the very small. In this realm, the neat, deterministic flow of time breaks down. Particles can exist in superpositions, can tunnel through barriers, and events are governed by probability. Some interpretations suggest that at the quantum level, the distinction between past and future may blur. The arrow of time, the reason we remember the past and not the future, becomes a profound mystery, perhaps linked to the increasing disorder or entropy of the universe. The ultimate cosmic clock, then, may be the expansion of the universe itself. Its time may have had a beginning in the Big Bang, some 13.8 billion years ago, and it may have an end in a heat death or a great crunch. Key: the entire cosmos is a single, unfolding story in time. So, what is time? Is it the steady tick of a cesium atom? Is it a flexible, stretchable dimension of space-time? Is it an irreversible progression toward disorder? Is it an illusion, as some philosophers and physicists have mused? Perhaps it is all these things, a layered mystery we apprehend in different ways. For you, right now, in the quiet dark, time can be something much simpler. It can be a feeling. It's a feeling of tension leaving your shoulders. It's a feeling of your heartbeat settling into a slow, restful rhythm. The feeling of a thought forming, and then dissolving, like a bubble in a still pond. We have journeyed from the star-filled sky to the vibrating atom, from the stone circle to the satellite. It is a story of our species, trying to grasp the ungraspable, to measure the immeasurable. Now, let all that knowledge soften. Let the precise numbers 9D2,631,770 melt into a gentle hum. Let the theory of relativity become simply the feeling of your heavy, relaxed body sinking into the supportive mattress. You are not stretching space-time, you're releasing into it. The most accurate clock in the world is still only measuring something. It is not creating time. Time is here, in this moment of rest. It is the space between this word and the next. It is the patience you are granting yourself. For the next while, let us abandon measurement altogether. Let us simply be in time, as a fish is in water, unaware of the medium that sustains it. We have walked through the long, patient history of marking time. Now, let us turn gently inward to the time we carry within us. For we are not blank slates upon which mechanical hours are written. We are living chronometers, rich with inner rhythms. Your body is a symphony of biological clocks, a phenomenon we call circadian rhythms. The word circadian comes from the Latin circa, about, and diem, a day. These are roughly 24-hour cycles that govern not just sleep and wakefulness, but a vast array of processes, the ebb and flow of hormones like melatonin and cortisol, the rise and fall of body temperature, the timing of digestion, the sharpness of your alertness, even the repair of your cells. This internal timekeeping is orchestrated by a master clock. It's a tiny cluster of about 20,000 neurons in the brain's hypothalamus, called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN. This neural clock is set, or entrained, primarily by light. Specialized cells in your eyes detect morning light, even through closed eyelids, and send a signal to the SCN. It is day. The SCN then broadcasts this time signal throughout your body, synchronizing the peripheral clocks in your organs. When you fly across time zones, your SCN is still on your home time, while the external light says something else. This is jet-lagged desynchronization between your internal time and the world's time. It takes days for your body's clocks to fall back into harmony, but there are other, slower rhythms within you, Freudian rhythms, longer than a day. The most obvious is the menstrual cycle, a monthly rhythm of fertility and renewal. There are even hints of seasonal rhythms, subtle shifts in mood and metabolism, with the lengthening and shortening of days, which in some can manifest as seasonal affective disorder. And then, on the smallest scale, there are ultradian rhythms, cycles shorter than a day. The 90-minute rhythm of REM and non-REM sleep cycles we explored in another story is one. There is also evidence of a 90-minute basic rest activity cycle during the day, where our focus naturally waxes and wanes. You are not a machine that runs at a constant pace. You are a tapestry of interlacing cycles, a living embodiment of time's cyclical nature. The industrial world asks you to be linear, to produce at a steady rate. But your biology is ancient, rhythmic, and wise. This is why the pressure of the clock can feel so oppressive. It asks us to override our natural tide of energy. It asks us to be alert at the wrong time, to sleep when our internal chemistry says wake. The epidemic of poor sleep is, in part, a rebellion of our biological clocks against an artificial temporal regime. So now, as we prepare to let go completely, we can honor this inner time. We can step off the linear track of seconds and hours and sink into the cyclical time of the body. The time of breath, the time of the heartbeat, the slow, circling time of recovery and rest. Find your breath again. Do not force it. Just observe it. In and out. This is your most fundamental rhythm. Each breath is a cycle, a miniature lifetime, a beginning, a fullness, and an ending that immediately becomes a new beginning. It is the wheel of time, turning within your own chest. Now, bring a soft awareness to your heartbeat. You may feel it in your chest, or in your neck, or in the pulse in your wrists. Thump, thump. It is a slower, deeper drum than the breath. Steady, patient rhythm that has been with you since before you were born. It does not count minutes. It simply beats the measure of your life, one pulse at a time. Let your attention rest in the space between the beats. It's that quiet gap. That is where time feels suspended. That is the doorway out of measurement. Imagine, with each exhale, that you are releasing the need to keep track of anything. Exhale, the concept of late. Exhale, the word hurry. Exhale, the feeling of not enough time. Let them drift away like smoke. With each inhale, breathe in a sense of timelessness. Breathe in the quality of a lazy summer afternoon that seems to stretch forever. Breathe in the deep, silent time of a winter forest under snow. Breathe in eternity, not as endless duration, but as a profound, peaceful present that has no edges. Your body knows how to do this. Kit is waiting for permission to slip into its own native time zone, the zone of restoration. In this zone, there are no numbers, only sensations, the weight of the blankets, the coolness of the pillow, the slow journey of blood through your veins, the gentle firing of neurons winding down for the night. You are returning to a time before clocks, to a time governed by the slow, sure rhythms of life itself. You are becoming like the ancient one looking at the stars, not to calculate, but to wonder, not to measure, but to be part of the vast, turning clockwork of the cosmos. Let go of the story now. Let go of history, of science, of mechanics, and atoms. It has all been a gentle lullaby for your thinking mind. Now, let the mind itself grow quiet. There is nothing more to understand, only to feel, only to be. In this timeless space, sleep is not something that happens in time. It is a place you enter, a country with no clocks. Now, we'll move into a guided visualization, a final journey from the world of measurement into the country of unmeasured sleep. Follow the sound of my voice, or let it become just another sound in the dark as you drift. Picture yourself standing in a quiet, round stone tower. It is not a clock tower. It is simply a peaceful, ancient place. The walls are thick. The air is still and cool. In the center of the room is an old, beautiful grandfather clock. Its wood is dark and polished. Its brass pendulum swings with a slow, heavy, graceful arc. Tock, tock, tock. You watch the pendulum with each swing to the left. Feel a wave of relaxation flow down the left side of your body, from your shoulder, down your arm, through your hip, to your leg, to your foot. It melts away any remaining tension. With each swing to the right, feel a wave of relaxation flow down the right side of your body. shoulder, arm, hip, leg, foot, solving into heaviness and calm. The pendulum is slowing, almost imperceptibly. The arc is getting smaller. The talk is growing softer. Talk, talk. As it slows, your breathing slows to match it. As it softens, your thoughts soften to match it. Now, see the clock's face. It has no numbers. It's just a simple, blank, pale circle. The hands are motionless. They are not pointing to any hour. They are just resting. This clock is not meant to tell you what time it is. It is only meant to show you that time is passing, peacefully, slowly, carrying you nowhere but deeper into this moment. The pendulum swings. Now, just a gentle shimmer in the air. The sound is now only a memory in the silence. You reach out, and with a soft touch, you open the glass door of the clock face. There is no mechanism inside. No gears, no springs. Instead, inside the case, you see a night sky. Deep, velvety, blue-black, with a sprinkle of distant, steady stars. It is cool and infinite and peaceful. This is the true clock. The silent, starry sky that our ancestors saw. Step forward. Let yourself be drawn into that inner night sky. You are not falling. You are floating, drifting into a space without up or down, without early or late. Around you are the stars. They do not move. They simply are. They are the constants, the eternal markers. You float among them, weightless, timeless. Feel the infinite quiet of this space. It is the quiet between heartbeats. It is the quiet between thoughts. It is the quiet at the end of time. There is no past here to regret, no future here to plan for. There is only this vast, peaceful, present everywhere. Your body, far away, is already asleep. Your breath is automatic. Your heart beats its slow, steady rhythm without any need for you to listen. You are free from time. You are free from measurement. You are simply being. In the gentle eternity of the night, let the stars around you softly blur, their light softening into a uniform, warm, dark glow. You are dissolving into that glow, becoming part of the peaceful dark. There is nothing to do, nothing to know, only to rest. The clock has wound down. The story is over. The measurement has ceased. All that remains is rest.